Look at that. The countdown goes three, two, one, go, and then it flips me on my side.
There.
Oh,
That was
incredible.
fantastic.
Hey, y'all, what is the 15th, 14th, 15th of July today, Tuesday. Uh, like Paget here, squirreled away somewhere outside Peoria, Illinois, inside of Good Force One, the vehicle of goodness. I was going to say Trump stopping, but that would just be, didn't work.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah. And Rob squirreled away, but becoming much more public outside of Fayetteville, Arkansas as a congressional candidate. So,
Yeah.
hello, soon to be congressman. What do you call a soon to be congressperson?
Candidate.
Candidate. It's like, what do you call second place? You know, that old joke. First loser. That's
First
what second
loser.
place is. Yeah. Kind of thing.
Yep. As an Enneagram 3, that joke resonates deeply with me.
Yeah, deep calls to deep on that one. You're like, oh, I already have that in here. Hey, our setup's a little different. If you're new with us, we don't always look like this. Sometimes we have more things going on around the sides. But we're having to use a particular restream here, and I can see that viewership is quite low. So I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's gonna take a little while for this thing to build. Using, well, it shouldn't. I don't know. It should be live on all the places. So, but hey, lots going on. I'll say weather-wise, as I look out this window, just at this little RV park outside of Peoria, it's just lovely, big, huge sky, cornfields, a farm, a barn right over there, a big farmhouse, cows roaming around out there. Just a pastoral period, alive and well in Peoria, Illinois. And it doesn't play in Peoria. How are things over there in Arkansas? Just hot as a tea kettle?
Apparently, the rain is finally going to stop. I feel like we've just had so much rain.
Wow.
I haven't mowed the lawn in a week and a half, 10 days, 2 weeks, something, and it's a jungle out there. And then on top of that, Vanessa yesterday went out and she had a day where she didn't have a ton of work responsibilities, so she spent most of the day after the rain stopped. Spent most of the afternoon in the garden and pulling stuff out and weeding, and now there are piles of yard debris in my yard.
Yeah.
That if I was gonna mow, I have to tackle the piles and piles of yard debris. So, it seems I'm gonna Vanessa doesn't watch the podcast or listen to the podcast. So it seems to me that if you're
just between us,
Doug, if I was sitting next to you on Good Force One, going down the highway, it seems like it's a partway done job. Discarding of the yard waste seems to be part of the job.
Brother, I am with you on this. It is it's a regular internal dialogue that I have that I've had to just say, no, my part of weeding the garden is to take it from the driveway or the sidewalk or the middle of the yard pile and then put it in the container or the bag and then move it along. And
apparently that's my job too. What I would love to do is, move it to the fire pit and just burn it all up, but I don't think it's quite dry enough yet for that. But
it's just going to be smelly.
Oh,
I learned a long time ago that frustration, personal frustration, is caused by the space between reality and expectation.
Yes.
And you can live in frustration all you want. You could change reality sometimes. You could change a behavior. You could change a thing. You could swap out a president for somebody else. But when you can't change the reality, the only thing left to do is, if you don't want to live in frustration, is to change your expectation.
Yep.
That's just be worn down to a small nub of whatever you thought you once were, with hopes and dreams and aspirations, and just stop being frustrated.
Reminds me of what Vanessa and I have been going to a therapist for probably 15 years now. We go just about monthly, going next week.
So it's not working, you're
Oh
saying?
yeah, totally not working. I joke with my kids whenever they say that they've talked to a therapist. I'm like, you fixed yet? And Whimsy actually said that to me last time I came home. She's like, I said, we had therapy today. And she said, you fixed yet? I'm like, no, apparently not. But our therapist, early on, we tackled one of those big frustrations of, Vanessa has no clock in her head, which means that she
Oh,
is really always running behind.
oh,
And especially on Sunday mornings when we were pastoring regularly, I would get frustrated. And our therapist finally, she's like, Rob, Vanessa's gonna be late. And then he turned to Vanessa and said, Vanessa, Rob is gonna be mad that you are late. And we both just had to come to grips with that
there's the reality.
reality. Like,
Yep.
this is just reality. This is the way it is. And as long once you make peace with that, then the frustration goes away. Well, it doesn't go away, but necessarily, but
It,
it
it can be
certainly,
tempered. It can be
yeah,
tempered quite a
it
bit because you
it
no
it
longer have that.
loosens that grip on you. And so I need to do some journaling about yard waste,
I
apparently.
don't know. I don't know if journaling helps. Uh, I think that is the same uh, impulse that we need to have in the work that we all do, though, right? Like, okay,
Mhm.
okay,
Yep.
when can reality change?
Yep.
And what part of the reality does somebody want to change?
Yep.
I mean, look, I have added additional meaning to my little heart necklace. By the way, a guy made a little snarky comment on a video I put out the other day about, uh, I think, pastors and being able to tell the truth about the candidates that they support instead of having to live behind a mysterious invisible line. And he said, "Well, I don't agree with you, but I got to say that necklace is a bold move. Just a great little dig. I really loved it." And it was just about that time that I'd added in because it's a little heart shaped. It's a
Mhm.
little heart shaped. Made out of stone. Bought it in Cuba from a guy, and because I liked it because I want to have a little. I want to always make sure I had a little bit of heart in my throat because I talk for a living. But you know what I added in, Rob? To it?
Hmm.
I'm praying for Donald Trump's heart of stone.
Oh, that's
I was trying to find solidarity with the good man,
mhm.
and
I found a
he
little
has a
bit.
heart of stone in his chest. I
Mhm.
have a heart of stone on the outside of
Yeah.
my chest, and I will pray for the reality
Yeah.
that will change, that heart of stone will melt.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
maybe not stop beating. I did not say that. I did not
Right.
say we'll stop beating. I said we'll melt
Met. Yeah.
into the softness of, I don't know. Now pick your story, your parable, your Disney show, your Bible verse,
Yeah.
your
I had a
syncopa.
little moment of solidarity with Donald Trump this morning.
Yeah.
Vanessa and I were talking, and the subject of gout came up, and uh, which I occasionally have bouts of, and I said to Vanessa, I said, I would not even wish gout on Donald Trump.
Wow. So you
And
don't think
Vanessa,
that guy's been experienced? Okay, go
yeah, oh, I'm sure he probably has had gout, 100%.
on.
Um,
That's why he walks like that.
yeah, yeah. And Vanessa immediately went back with, "Oh, I would."
Ju- Just as spiritual path for slowing
Yeah,
down and seeing what's important in the world
exactly,
and all the rest.
exactly.
Well, you know what? There's not very many days where the MAGA bros
Yeah.
and the beta left males like you and I find ourselves in solidarity.
Hmm.
But on this day on the internet, I would imagine our tunes are going to be quite similar. And here's what I'm getting at if people aren't aware. The, Under Trump's direction, the FBI and the Attorney General have ceased all movement on the Jeffrey Epstein case, on the Jeffrey Epstein files. There's nothing to see, they said. There is no list. They harped on it for years. and said it has to come out. It's a big Democratic cover-up. Trump's now said there's nothing in there. We shouldn't be talking about it. In his words, more important things. I can't believe you're wasting our time talking about this. Here's a man for whom his golf scores become a regular thing he wants to chit chat about. And here it is, Rob. The MAGA bros and us lefty beta males finding our commonality in saying, release the files, stop the cover up. Now, look, the conspiracy is telling us there aren't. This government told us there are files. They were on Pam Bondi's desk. She's the Attorney General of these United States of America. She said the file is on my desk. Just release the entire file then. Redact whatever names you think need to be protected of the victims, not of the perpetrators. Release the Kraken. And they're not going to do it, Rob. They're just not going to do it. And Trump has been losing support all across, little seepage, little drips out of the hot tub from all sides over the last 150 days. And this one, somebody pulled the plug, and there are people absolutely.
Yeah. It's
Pam Bondi's got to go because she's thinking Kelly wants to support Trump. You know, trouble is when Alex Jones says, Alex Jones, that terrible fella who was sued by families whose children were murdered for what he said about them. That guy has the common sense to say we don't need Trump anymore. Trump's part of the deep state. Alex Jones jumped the shark. Charlie Kirk, old Charlie Kirk, over the weekend was all over it. And then Trump called him and he backed off.
Yeah.
The fight in MAGAville, and look, it's not going to cause any difference because Trump doesn't care. The man's got a heart of stone.
Yeah. So there's a number of interesting questions that all of this raises. You know, who's telling the truth and who's lying? What is reality? You know, Pam Bondi said that first she said that the client list was on her desk, and now she's backed off and said, well, what I meant was the file was on my desk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there's there's nothing there. There's no and I mean, there's a person in prison for crimes related to Jeffrey Epstein's activities, including his trafficking of young women on behalf of quote unquote clients. I don't know if clients is the right word, if they paid him or not, but like it's not that there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Because somebody's in jail, you know, so that's one thing.
Yes.
Now
hey, I'm going on mute to ask my phone a question, so don't worry about my moving lips.
Okay. So it's really interesting that there is this really, I was going to say for the first time in a long time, but really that's not the case with what we saw with Elon Musk and his breakup from President Trump. But what we see is there's a real fracture in the Trump administration itself between Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, and Kash Patel and Dan Bongingo. I don't know if that's Bongione. I don't. Gabagool. I don't know how to pronounce the man's name.
I don't know.
But it seems like we've got two distinct camps here. One, Pam Bondi acting seems to be at the behest of the president, Um, and then, the guys at the FBI seemingly wanting to act on principle, and that has put them in conflict, and that very conflict is what we're seeing in MAGA. It's the question of when there's loyalty to
Mm-hmm.
the man versus delivering on the expectations and promises, and the frustration is the reality between the space between the reality and the expectations, so that's where it's
Yep.
and it seems like clearly, I mean, it's not seems like clearly the president has
Yes.
picked a side
I said,
and
don't release this information. Yes,
don't
he has.
release it, stop talking about it. He
Yeah.
wants to squelch any dissent on this, and that begs the question, why?
Why? Why? What? Because he said he campaigned on it. His whole energy of his movement was around it.
Yeah,
The
I'm not
whole
sure.
pedophile
Can I
cover up.
push back on the he
Yeah.
campaigned on it a little bit?
Yeah.
Because I remember, there were times where he was asked about releasing files, UFO files,
Yeah.
MLK,
There's one particular
JFK,
interview I remember. Yeah. Yeah.
and then he was asked about Epstein, and he was very committal on, like, he was like, yes on the MLK file, yes on the JFK file, yes on the UFO stuff. Epstein file, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. He said
I,
maybe.
I'm not sure. I agree with you that it was a driving energy
Look,
for his supporters. I'm not sure he actually made that promise.
he said, well, okay, I'll just say in that particular interview, he said, yes, I will. But we have to be a little careful because there's a whole bunch of accusations about people that aren't fair. Okay.
Yeah.
He said that. He also said about the woman who's in prison for working with Epstein.
Yeah.
He wishes her well.
Yeah.
And then when he was asked about it a few days later, he said in an Axios interview, I wish everyone well. I don't want anything bad to happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And he said, the interviewer said, a pedophile you wish well in prison? Her boyfriend died in prison. I don't want that to happen to her. Meanwhile, this guy takes people who are legally in the United States, sends them to an El Salvadorian detention center, and says, I don't care. And then he's like, I don't want bad things to happen to anyone. Democrats are evil scum.
Yeah.
Like this whole bit that this guy is like, I wasn't campaigning on that. He was stuck because he knew these were his friends. He thought he could run on the fact that the Biden team was covering it up. And then what's wild, Rob, absolutely wild. Everyone on the MAGA side of Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in prison. Jeffrey Epstein files have been saying Epstein is covering up for Bill Clinton. They would say he's covering up for Oprah Winfrey. He's covering up for Nancy Pelosi. The whole thing is that it's a Democratic cover up. This is what Kash Patel said before he was the FBI director. A cover up of the deep state Democrats.
Yeah.
Then Trump comes out on Truth Social and says, there is a list, but it's a fake list created by Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama.
Right.
Why would the Democrats make a list saying that falsely saying that Democrats were involved in pedophile rings?
Yep. Yep.
You know
Hey,
why? Because
listen,
he knows that people have access to this thing. His name's going to be on it. Here's what he's doing. Exactly what he does every single time something comes out. First says it didn't happen. Then says it doesn't matter. Then says it did happen, but what you've heard about it is wrong. And then he says the whole thing is fake. That's the plan. He's now rolled it all out. And do you know who it's not working for? The
MAGA.
true believers in MAGA.
Yeah.
who have
And
now
listen, I
said
want to.
blatantly Trump got rickrolled, and now he's on the side of the deep state.
Yeah. Now listen,
And
I want
Elon
to.
Musk, his billionaire huddle buddy, saying, you know why Trump's not releasing the Epstein files? Because he's in it. Have a good day,
Yeah.
DJT.
Yeah.
That's what
Listen,
blew this thing apart for MAGA people.
I want to say in a loud and clear voice, we as, you know, left-wing beta males, as you said, we as Democratic supporters, I as a Democratic candidate for the United States Congress, I want to say in a loud and clear voice, if there is evidence.
Oh, I was trying to make you big. Sorry.
Oh, here we go.
Have you got a thing on the bottom where you can make yourself big there? You got little squares
Maybe.
down there?
Let me see. Oh, no, it just put me in full screen here. No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Anyways,
Huh.
let me say in a loud and clear voice. If Bill Clinton, if Nancy Pelosi, if Barack Obama, if Oprah Winfrey, if anybody else that would be quote unquote on our team is in the Epstein files, and there is evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that can be proved to a jury of their peers that they engaged in any kind of illegal activity up to and including pedophilia, put them in jail for the rest of their lives.
Yep.
I don't care what
Who
if
cares?
there's a D after their name.
It's
If it's Bill Clinton, I don't put him in jail for the rest of his life. Now, Trump supporters willing to say the same about their guy?
Yep.
I'm not so sure.
Yep. I think you're spot on with that one.
And you totally agree, right? And this seems to be the attitude of most Democrats that I've talked to about this, is that listen, we're not playing politics with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
If this is a massive criminal ring that is taking place, if this is some, horrible crime against humanity, and people who are quote unquote on our side are involved, lock them up. Lock them up.
Yeah.
If the president of the United States is also involved and is now obstructing justice to keep himself, unsullied by this, lock him up too.
Yeah.
Lock him up too. And, oh, by the way, maybe lock him up for the 34 felonies he's already been convicted of.
Yeah. Look, yes, 1,000 times over. And is this political? Absolutely, it's political. In the sense, not partisan, but in the sense that people in positions of power have an obligation. The reason people are charged with crimes the way Miss Maxwell is charged, the way Jeffrey Epstein was arrested and charged, when they walked into court, what the prosecutor said was, Judge, on behalf of my client, the United States of America, I ask for these charges. Not on behalf of only the victim, because of what was done to the victim, but justice in the United States is brought by the justice system. A man was incarcerated, killed himself. Another person was incarcerated and now is sentenced to prison for 20 years for these crimes. There is public interest in this case because they were arrested by Trump's Justice Department in his first term. Jeffrey Epstein died while in custody during Trump's administration. The Justice Department of Donald J. Trump was responsible for the well-being of Jeffrey Epstein. He killed himself. Ms. Maxwell is now going to the U.S. Supreme Court to say my trial should be redone because the chief law enforcement officer in the United States, the president of the United States, has said over the weekend the whole thing was a fraud made up by Democrats.
Yep.
When Trump puts out his official statements on Truth Social as the president, her lawyers jumped on it and said, hey, that looks to us like cause for a retrial because the chief law enforcement officer who knows everything there is to know about this said it's all fake. After spending 6 years saying it's true and they're covering it up.
Yeah.
So is it political? It absolutely, it has to be political because our justice system is in the business of giving the American people confidence in the justice system. Should it be partisan? Absolutely not. Our justice system shouldn't be partisan. And this is just a larger point on some other stuff that we're doing work on about how religious people should speak about issues. So I want to talk about that in a little bit, but the difference between something being political and being partisan is a real distinction.
Yes.
Partisan means, do you treat one group of people one way and another group of people the other way based on their political affiliation, not on their political nature. Politics isn't the problem as much as partisanship is the problem.
Yes.
And if there's ever been anything as partisan as this, now, look, truthfully, there were a bunch of Democrats saying, who cares about Jeffrey Epstein? Stop talking about him. Until Trump started covering it all up. And then they're all like, oh, let's subpoena those cabinet members, you know, let's get them in here. So, okay, is there a switcheroo on all sides of interest in this? You better believe it.
Yeah. You know, I saw a really fascinating conspiracy theory on Twitter that just kind of made me laugh a little bit. Someone speculating that Trump is playing 4D chess while the rest of us are playing checkers. And what he's doing is he's actually drumming up interest in the Epstein case, moving it from a fringe, you know, conspiracy theory kind of thing into a mainstream discussion. And that's really how it has shifted. And he's done that so that when he does release the files, the media can't ignore it.
Great. Whatever masterminding he's doing about bringing Volodymyr Zelensky into the Oval Office and berating him in front of the American people and cuddling up to Putin and then switching sides later and deciding that tariffs are all about fentanyl. Fentanyl is what we're trying to stop. That's why we're going to put tariffs on Mexico and tariffs on Canada. That's all this is about. To tariffs now being about economic equality or the United States having a leg up. Or maybe it's about getting a political leader to do what they want, like he's doing in Brazil. So whatever his masterminding of all of these flip-floppy, I have no idea what we're doing. Maybe saying, I'm not going to attack Medicaid funding and then attack Medicaid funding is just the genius level of negotiations. You want to believe that?
He's a very stable genius. Does it feel like you look at all this stuff and does it feel like here's someone with a master plan that is executing that plan, or does it feel like someone is flailing? To me, it feels like someone's flailing.
Yeah. But look, the man's ability to recover is superhuman.
Yeah,
his ear, the part of the body that receives the least blood flow on the human head, heals within hours.
Yeah.
Cut open.
I remember. Wait a minute. Isn't there a story about like a world political leader who gets a wound to the head that heals? Where was that story? Who was that guy? Who
late
was that
70s, early
guy? 80s? Who
somewhere. Yeah.
was that guy?
Maybe I saw a movie. Maybe I saw a
Maybe I
movie about
think
that.
is that in the Bible somewhere? I don't know. I'll have to think about that.
All right. Well, look, the,
Listen, we have talked more about Jeffrey Epstein than I have ever had any desire to do. Wow.
yeah, me too. I actually don't care about this case. The thing that matters is watching the very people, and I mean literally the people. Bonjoni, however you pronounce his name, Cash Patel, Pam Bondi, who were people who were put in these positions
Yes.
because they were aggressively saying they were going to do something about this.
Yeah.
Then they said, and Pam Bondi not only said as the attorney general in response to a not well crafted question when she said, "It's on my desk." The question was, "Oh, there's a file, there's a list," and she said, "Yes, the list of files on my desk." Then 2 days later, she clarified when someone said, "Are there flight logs? Are there lists of names?" Yes, there are. So she said over a course of days, "I have seen it." Now she says it's not there. Now, if she needs to clarify that, please do. Give your statement under oath
Yep.
to Congress and then release the information in that file where you can make it clear you saw information that didn't include the list of names. Because you were saying before you were in office and while you were in office, there's a list of names. Everybody around it has said there's a list of names.
Yeah.
This gets to the heart when the director of the FBI, the assistant director of the FBI, the president of the United States, and the attorney general of the United States are not saying things that their own supporters can even believe.
Yep.
We have a problem. In other words, sir, there is a cancer on the presidency.
Mm.
And this is not going away because it has 6 years of buildup.
Yes.
Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in August of 2019. He was arrested in July of 2019. And Joe Rogan made his name in a lot of people's minds by talking about this. So that whole bro movement, that whole screaming group of people about the godless pedophiles that are Democrats are now being told, don't worry about that. It was never real. In fact, it was all made up by Democrats.
Yep.
This is why it's not just partisan. It's not even policy, but it gets to the very core and heart. It's just so
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, Jim is checking the Trump Bible right now to see if it says anything in there about it.
Yeah.
And all right. Hey, can we talk a little bit about a recent Rolling Stone article?
Doug, this is twice now you've been in Rolling Stone.
Yeah, I've been in Rolling Stone twice in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
No, 8 months. 8 months.
Would you
Am I trying to get on the cover of the Rolling Stone?
Oh,
you better believe 100%.
It. You would give it all up to, be able to be in Rolling Stone because of your musical prowess.
Look, if there was a photo of me in Rolling Stone with a guitar in my hand, that's reason for the season, friends.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's not. It's me with a hand in the air, a blue hat on, a Kamala shirt on, and a Kamala for Common Good banner behind me.
Yeah.
But here's what that was about, friends. That go to Rolling Stone, go to the Vote Common Good website. You can read these articles. A big ruling came out last Monday from the IRS in a legal determination that pastors can talk about who they're going to vote for. And I've watched a bunch of my liberal friends wring their hands about this. And I'm going to have a couple of them on. I'm going to do conversations with different pastors and different faith leaders about this so we can have a robust dialogue. I just read an article in the Atlantic today about a pastor taking their high horse on this. The crux of the argument is this from pastors who don't want to speak about this. I don't want to force my parishioners to have to vote the way I vote. If you can't say to somebody as a pastor, here's what I believe in good conscience, and you have the freedom to do what you want, then the issue is not you saying that. The issue is the nature of your relationship with those people. That you believe that somehow you have conjured up a group of people that don't have the freedom to do what they want, taking your insight and input into consideration. The fact that pastors think if they say it, somehow their parishioners are going to become zombies who
Yeah.
feel the need to do it, or feel that they're opposing God, or feel they have to leave their church. Like, honest to goodness, pastor friends, your grandiose level of belief that your parishioners will do what you do, just tell them, I'm not saying you need to do this. I just want you to know where I stand in case you were interested. And on another point, while I'm waxing angrily here. So it's okay to tell them how to think about policy because you're glad to talk about policy. In fact, you say regularly, I want to preach about policy, not about personnel, not about candidates. I want to preach about the thing our government should do. So I guess what you're saying is you should tell them what to believe about policies, but not tell them what to believe about who to vote for. So is the problem that it's who to vote for, or that you don't want to tell people what to do and force them? Because seemingly, based on your earlier argument, which I've heard so many times and have read so clearly, and I think I have you right, fellow pastor friends who believe this, that you don't want to put undue pressure on people to conclude the way you do about the candidate, but you're fine putting that same pressure on them about how to believe about policies. Or do you not want to be involved in it at all? Now, feel free. Fine, don't talk about the stuff. Or if you do, say, I have no intention that you're going to believe the way I do about gun violence, about economic equality, about budgets being moral documents. That you're not going to rave about the climate change that needs to be addressed at the governmental level. That you're not going to talk about supporting people on Medicare or Medicaid through our government systems. You're fine to not talk about that, unless you found a way to talk about that and create enough freedom for people to be part of your community who disagree with you, but somehow that's not extended to, and therefore I would vote for this candidate and not that one. Somehow that statement you think violates it all. I, honest to goodness, don't get it. And you know what? None of your parishioners do either. The only people who get it are you, covering up for the fact that you don't think that politics is worthy of your voice. Soliloquy ended.
I
Rob, you
think
got
there's
any pushback? Can you speak on their behalf or your own behalf? Because
yeah,
I'm losing my mind over this.
yeah, I think there is so much fear. I I think that there's, such listen, there's a huge difference between the mega church pastor who has deep, profound control and, is making tons of money and has, like there's a huge difference between that guy and your average pastor in a small town, in a parish situation, that, she's just, you know, visiting the hospital and taking care of people and sweating every dollar that comes in and the church being able to, pay its bills. And like there's a huge, huge difference between the mega church pastor who gets on TV and the vast majority of pastors around the country. And I think I've got a lot of, I share your frustration on one level. And I also have a deep sense of empathy for those pastors who have the reality of pastoring purple congregations. Pastoring purple congregations with, where people like making budget every month, like, hangs in the balance. And who knows that there is, that guy sitting right over there is totally unreasonable. He's a hothead. He's going to fly off the handle. And, like,
Of course.
and
so don't talk about a whole set of things, but don't
Right.
act like this one thing is somehow sacrosanct. That's my issue. And
Sure.
look, if you're right, Rob, and I think you are because I've experienced it myself. I watched it with a lot of other pastors. Then just say that, pastor friends.
Yeah.
Just say, I don't want you to know who I'm going to vote for because I don't think our relationship of me as your clergy person and you as parishioner can handle it. And then I would encourage you to work on the nature of that relationship. But this, like somehow some higher moral ground, our calling is to not be dragged down into the. Meanwhile, I'll talk to you about policy all day long. Like if the same lonely pastor just making her way to the hospital and visiting people and putting communion together and giving it to people doesn't talk about any of that stuff, fair enough. Look, if you want to be a pastor who doesn't engage in the the structure of our world and how it should be, whether it comes to the stop sign on Main Street, the treatment of the servers at the cafe, the treatment of the farm workers. If you don't want to talk about any of that stuff, I'm not here to tell you to do that. What I am here to say is when you do this thing where you're fine talking about that, and then somehow getting to the conclusion of a representative form of democracy, and now you're like, oh, but Precious B could never share with the people of my church my own personal endorsement commitments. That is a game you're playing.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, and I would love to hear someone describe how it's not that. Now, they may say it without the feigning voice mockery that I put in that little comment there. But I think it's exactly those words. And the only reason I know that is because I have heard it over and over and over. And somehow them saying to all of us, and the country is better because we don't endorse candidates. We only endorse policies. What? What?
Yeah.
Like, it's this just game of hide the ball. It's like some joke where you just let people fill in the last word of the punchline because it's the only obvious word, like what rhymes with truck jokes, that's the like, so yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it just and watching our friends and colleagues wring their hands and be like, well, this could be the slippery slope. Like, oh, for the love. And look, this is not coming so much from my political side. This is coming from my pastor side, where before I was even doing full-time work in politics, I was like, pastors are not honest with their parishioners. And they're not honest about the relationship they have. And there's so much nip and tuck and hide and wink and nudge and stuff going on in these churches. And then they're all about truthfulness and openness and love and community. And meanwhile, it's all a big game of hide the ball and manipulate each other and get rid of all that stuff. We have too much secrecy, too much manipulation in religion, in politics, and our society. And this stuff just is case in point of how the people who claim moral clarity.
Yes.
Now, if you want to say, hey, if you find out who I vote for, I have no expectation that you will vote for the same person to be part of this church. I mean, look, I pastored a church with people who disagreed with me politically. I have family members, people I love deeply, who disagree with me. Yeah, we disagree on things.
Yes.
Why is this one thing something you think your parishioners can't disagree with you about?
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah. I think that there's a couple of things here. Um, One is this discussion reminds me of early on as we were starting our church, Vintage Fellowship here in Northwest Arkansas. Um, kind of building into the DNA of the kind of community that we were building, and setting the expectations. Uh, we talked a lot about, hey, be a good church member, disagree with your pastor.
Yeah.
That, like, disagreeing with your pastor is actually being a good church member, because it opens up the opportunity. And this just use this. When we disagree on something, that opens up the opportunity for compassion and love and grace and peace, to all of that to exist. When, like, if we all agree on everything, it's easy to get along. There's
Yeah.
no test to the love, you know. But when we
Yep.
disagree, that's when, like, it really matters that we care about each other, that we stick with each other, that we're in
Yes.
relationship with each other. So, so that's one thing. Another thing that comes to mind here is that, I think we've got to think about different visions of pastoral ministry. That there are some that want to take the chaplain approach, um, which is good and appropriate. But let's be honest that that's the approach you're taking.
Yep.
And then there's others that want to take a much more prophetic approach, where, you think about the biblical prophets, they named names. They named names.
Yeah. It
They
was kind of
did.
the point. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, and there's a lot of risk involved with that. John the Baptist lost his head.
Yeah.
Um,
Jesus got
like,
killed.
yeah, but they name names.
Yes.
Um, and I think that what we need to do is say, listen, there's part of pastoral ministry that has this prophetic component, and the prophetic component, like, names names. Like, it doesn't pussyfoot around, doesn't hedge the bet, it doesn't wink and nod. It gets real honest real fast, and it recognizes that that's going to tick some people off, that's going to put people at risk, it's going to make people uncomfortable. But I think what we need to recognize is that, like, in this, like, I don't think the totality of pastoral ministry can be done by one person. I in fact think the whole community
Well,
needs to take care of itself.
completely.
And what we need to recognize is that, like, hey, we need some of these prophetic folks that are challenging and pushing, and we need some of the chaplainy folks that are coming
Sure.
along and, like, okay, like, we're gonna be all right here. And we all learn from each other, and how we do this is really important in learning how to, like, how a pastor
Yes.
expresses their support for a candidate is tremendously important. Is it going to be the Greg Locke approach, where it's, if you disagree with me, you're of the devil, and Democrats are evil, and Starbucks is witches, and which was a great video I watched this week of him talking about how Starbucks is a coven of witches, which was really fantastic. Send it to my daughter who works at Starbucks.
He's a Pete's Coffee guy, apparently, huh?
Apparently. He strikes me as a Dunkin' guy. I don't know why. But
just thinking probably instant coffee, actually.
Yeah, yeah, probably, yeah. Like, that's one way. That's one approach to endorse a candidate, which I think is really harmful and really toxic, and demands that loyalty to the pastor. But to endorse somebody, to say, hey, listen, I'm voting for this person because they line up with these values that we've talked about as a church family that we cherish, and I think this person aligns best with those. Now, listen, you might come to a different conclusion. That's totally okay. Like, we need to have conversation and talk about it, and like
Yeah.
how you frame it is tremendously important for the life and health of your church. And what I think is most pastors, when they think about endorsing candidates, they see the Greg Locke example and they go, oh, I don't want to do that. And they haven't seen enough of the other example to say, I'm going to do it this way.
Maybe it's lack of example, but they watch themselves do it.
I
But
know
they watch themselves do
I
it.
don't know why I want to let them off the hook in some
I
way.
know, because I watch
Because
them do it
I
on
agree with
policies.
you, Doug. I
I
agree
know
with
you do.
you.
I know you do. I know you do.
And at the same time, I like I feel the tension that
It's a
many
glitch
people
in
have felt.
it's a glitch in the system. Look, Democrats, the Democratic Party has been very nervous about engaging faith people.
Yes.
And faith people on the left have been very nervous about their relationship with Democrats. They want to keep it a secret relationship. And the secrecy kills. It's not helpful. It's confusing to people. It, frankly, I will just say it bluntly. This is why progressive churches are small and failing.
Oh,
Not because of politics, but because it's this constant protection of the clergy status.
oh,
The
this
whole
is a
thing
hot take.
exists somehow to be like, but the pastor, like, look, lefties, Democrats, progressive pastors, I'm in that camp. We talk like, boy, at those churches, those other churches, those evangelical churches, the conservative churches, the pastors just tell people what to believe. But around here, we're free thinkers. But I can't tell you who I'm voting for because then you would think you have to vote like me. Oh, is it? So you actually have a little fear, and you're like, and the role I'm in, the clergy role. Oh, that's so protected. Come on. Then you stand up and you say, every work that people do in the world is blessed by God. Whether you're a plumber or an accountant or a teacher or someone who cares for someone at home, all of these jobs are just as righteous and just as loyal. And there is no standard, but I can't do the thing you all can do because I have this special role that I play. Come on.
I
Now,
can't
look,
put
if
a
you're in a
bumper
job,
sticker on my car.
if you're in a job where your bosses have said to you,
Yeah.
don't express your political opinion.
Yes. If you're
Lots of
if you're
people
a
are in the
journalist at a local news station, you don't do it.
if you work for Pentair and you're the executive, you're in the C-suite and you're like, hey, you get in the C-suite, we stop talking about politics. People do this all the time in
Yes.
corporations, all the time. It's totally fine. And they say, my job doesn't let me do it.
Yep.
Then say that. Feel free to say it. And when you have to explain it, have an explanation. Because when you're standing up serving communion in your church as a pastor, faith leader, as a priest, usually everywhere I've ever seen, there's more than just the clergy. There's a deacon, there's an elder, there's a pick your name, there's a council member, whatever little title.
We once had an 11-year-old in a Batman mask serving communion at our church.
You got costume kid, whatever you got. You got your people with their cute little role names, right? Nothing wrong with any of this. This is how we function. Like a lot of life is cosplay, and you have rules in the play. You say to these people, we gather together as the work of the people. We collectively do the work of the people, we say. But I carry this burden that I must be the only one who carries. Like this thing. So you, because you do the sermon and have this role, don't get to say who you're going to vote for. But the deacon, it's fine to put that on their Facebook profile. She can just pop it right up there. The head of the elder board can just wear a button that says, Donald Trump, I'm with Trump. I'm with Kamala. Yep. They're okay to do it, but you.
Wearing their
what
Make
are you
America
really?
Great hat, Make America Great Again hat to the church picnic.
And I'm telling you, this thing about the clergy obsession in mainline and progressive spaces, this is the thing that should be called out here. This is where it's got me all fired up. This runs so much deeper.
Yeah.
When I say this is the issue with the progressive church, it is this role of this specialized role of clergy. And again, if we want to call it for what it is and say, once you take on that role, you're out. You get elected as a judge, no more politicking. Okay. Okay. Then just say that. But do you know who's not saying it? The Internal Revenue Service.
Yep.
Do you know who's not going to revoke your nonprofit status? No one. No one's not going to do that. That's a classic doublespeak. So anyway, we have a wild imbalance in the United States where progressive Christians talk about harmful policies and won't finish the conversation about what to do about it. We have conservative Christians who are not addressing the issue of our policies and are saying, vote for these people who are causing the problem. And if you don't want to help fix that, feel free. But if you do, there's some things you can work on and some really great conversations to have with your team and your leadership team, and to say, hey, what's the nature of our relationship to electoral politics? Like, here's what I truly don't know, Rob. I truly don't, because I've never asked a pastor, and I'm going to try. Some states use voting referendums to pass certain laws, basically.
Yes.
Do pastors speak out about those? Do they say pass proposition such and such?
Very often, yes.
The same people who will say, I won't tell you what person to vote for, will tell people how to vote on this topic. I yield my time and I remain befuddled. I hereby declare I am befuddled. I am befuddled.
Yes, but the point is, Doug is once again in Rolling Stone. So head over to rollingstone.com and
go to votecommonggood.com and get to it from there.
Yes, do that.
Because you'll see the donate button.
Yeah.
You won't see a subscribe button. You'll see a I'm a nonprofit because I sell guns, alcohol, and tobacco. I don't know what that means. Okay, here's this argument. Let's take a look at this. Thanks, Stephen, for this. Hey, conservative evangelicals just do whatever they want. Freedom of speech only applies to evangelicals and those who are fake religious. I don't know what that means. I think it's kind of true, but I'm not sure. Not sure what that means.
Yeah, Doug, talk a little bit about. Stephen also raises in one of his comments the Yabits coming in with some AI stuff, which is great. Talk a little bit about separation of church and state. Does this ruling from the IRS, does it undermine separation of church and state? Does it blur the lines of separation of church and state? Does it put at risk the wall of separation of church and state that exists? Is that people are nervous about that?
They are. Well, we should start every conversation with about separation of church and state with the Establishment Clause in the Constitution, because that's what's legally there. Congress
shall make no law establishing a religion, whatever, however it goes.
Establishing or preventing. That's what's there. The Congress, and that's been understood to mean all forms of government cannot make an official religion. That is a full-time, 100% commitment, I would believe, of anybody in the United States. We should be committed to that. It's the First Amendment. It's right in there with the freedom of speech and the freedom to assemble and the freedom for your religion to be yours. The government shall not interfere with it. There's no way to have a religion take over the government and start running the government as a religiously funded entity without violating that. So
Mhm.
we have to be careful both directions. We have to be careful that the government doesn't pick and establish or prevent any religious expression, any at all. And we have to be careful that the government doesn't adopt religious commitments. And I would say 10 Commandments, plaques, and all the rest of it start to move in those directions. Okay. The wall of separation of church and state and separation between church and state was a Thomas Jefferson notion and idea
It's
that he
not
was
in the
most
Constitution. It's from a stinking letter.
from a letter written to the good people in Virginia in the
For
American
those of you that
Baptist
might not know,
tradition,
I'm just
quoting
quoting the congresswoman from Colorado.
Lauren Boebert, yeah, and a lot of other conservatives who are like, look,
We have not heard from her in a while.
you gotten quiet. There's it, the implication behind things like phrases of separation of church and state seem to imply that people are saying there should be no religion that has any impact in our government, and there should be
Mhm.
no government that has any impact in our religion. So far, that some people would say the government can't tell us when we can meet, or if we have to wear masks. We get to do in our religion whatever we want. Separation of church and state. If you want true, pure separation of church and state, churches should be able to do whatever they want. If you're in a church bus, you can drive as fast as you want, right? If you're going to have a meeting in a pandemic, nobody can tell you what to do because you're doing it as the church. Full separation, nothing to do with each other. Of course not. No one's ever meant that. It's not what Thomas Jefferson meant. It's not what the Baptists of Virginia were arguing for. It's not what we've ever talked about. What Thomas Jefferson was saying was, hey, you people in your church, in your religion here, are getting real close to wanting all of your efforts to be done simply in cohort with the church or with the government. You need to be sure that you have separate and equal entities. And there are times where there's going to be a wall between them and a time where you're going to come together. But you don't want the government taking your baptism view and making it the official baptism view. He
Right.
was trying to argue for how you don't let the religion become the predominant argument of every legal cause and for every governmental input to be ceasing certain operations. It wasn't a great idea, though, to phrase it that way. And the bigger problem is Democrats seem to want it to be this way. And I hear this a lot from Democrats. I don't want there to be religion in America. I don't want it to have impact in America. Now, if people need it for their own personal impact, their own personal good, fair enough. But it comes right up to a line where it's like, but if that motivates you for anything in the world, well,
Yep.
keep it to yourself. So silencing religion in an effort to be separating church and state, or telling churches you don't have to follow US law because there's a separation of church and state, neither of those are what we want.
Right. Yep. A pastor expressing to their congregation how they're going to vote as an expression of their values and their faith is not a violation of separation of church and state.
No.
It's not. It's just not. It's
Yeah,
not what it
you
is.
might want there to be a restriction so that tax-free organizations can't say something or they're going to have to pay taxes. Like, but honest to goodness, this obsession with who's going to pay taxes and who's tax exempt, like our bizarre commitment to tax exemptness is a real issue. Let's just be perfectly clear. If your church only functions because people give you money because they don't pay tax on the money they give you, they wouldn't give you post-tax dollars, you've got a real issue to figure out with your church. Look, churches, just stop being tax exempt. Just quit it. Pay sales tax like everybody else, pay property tax, You have people donate to you like they donate to any other cause that's not tax exempt that they care about, and just move on with it. Just take the standard exemptions and move on. This, like, if we lose our tax exempt status, the only thing that gives our church meaning is that we don't pay property tax or we receive dollars from people that are pre-tax. Like, what? Just truly, to be a little bit snarky here, do you think the first century church was concerned about its tax exempt status from Rome? No, it's not the point. Somehow, this like tax code has become the essence of identity. Oh, we could lose our. First of all, no church in America has ever lost their tax exempt status. No legitimate church. One thing that ran as a fake church, just an online on paper thing that was running a scam, the only one that's ever happened. It's never happened. You know why? Because it's not what the IRS does. They don't care. But the idea that pastors are so obsessed with their IRS status says a whole lot about being concerned about money. And here's the other thing, these people rail about the evangelicals and the conservatives, and they say they're just money hungry and money grabbing, but we can't violate our 501c3 status because then we won't get money from people. And our big donors will leave.
I
And we
can't
won't
endorse a
get money
candidate because I'll lose donors.
because I'll lose donors. And then they're worried that these churches have enough struggles.
Yeah.
The idea that we run around trying to figure out how to maintain our IRS determined status. By the way, in the 501 code of the tax code, there are many versions of 501s. There's 501 charitable organizations. There's 501 organizations that are not charitable. When you're 501 charitable, means you're a
Just downright
501c.
rude.
And then there's
Not charitable at all.
uncharitable. And then there's 501c4s. Vote Common Good is that organization. We're nonprofit, but you don't get a tax donation from money you give to us. 501c3s are tax exempt, but can't speak into political situations. There's 501bs, which are other kinds of, there's like libraries are 501c organizations and museums and schools, and they're all in different places in the tax code. Tax code is extremely complicated. Churches, get over that. You're granted 501c3 like status because you're a religious institution, not because you have to fulfill all the other 501c3 status. You don't even do that. Most churches don't even fill out a 1090 and tell the government where their money comes from. They don't even do it. But they want to act like they're the beacon of nonprofit status. So if you want to have a whole conversation about nonprofit status, boy, I could bore you to the end of time about stuff like that. But this is where it all becomes conflated, and somehow the identity of churches and the identity of pastors and separating church and state and 501c3 status and oh, we just can't. Okay, it's gotten so complicated here. And if you feel comfortable in how you've been
Yeah.
acting in the world, keep doing it. And don't let the IRS determination of what you can do. Because as the Apostle Paul told us, all things are permissible, but not all things are beneficial. So do that which is good and give up the rest. You don't have to. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying stop acting like you can't.
Yeah.
Because the government, or now it's not the government, now it's our pristine spot. Like, if you want to choose a posture, choose it boldly, state it, move on, and don't let some joker in a blue hat tell you to be different. Nobody, who cares then, right? You're clear. But if you've been wringing your hands all these years, boy, I would love to get my hands on the freedom to tell the truth to my parishioners. Well, at least when it comes to you losing your 501c3 status. But Rob, when you're in Congress, will you change any of this?
I'm going to work really hard at making sure that the big issues that people are facing get addressed, like the child tax credit being made more difficult to access by many working families, Medicaid, healthcare, the tax breaks for billionaires and big corporations while the tax burden for working families increasing. Those kinds of things are the things I'm going to focus in on.
Great.
And if the IRS is going to make determinations, fantastic.
Rob Ryerson for Congress. If you're new around here, that guy Rob there, that guy right there, that guy, he's running for Congress too.
RobForCongress.com, ROBB for Congress.com.
Hey y'all, thanks for being a part of this. Oh, wow, it's already 11 o'clock. I'm stuck outside of Peoria, Illinois, and I got to go home today.
Yeah.
So
got a big drive ahead.
Got a big drive. Got a place to go, places to be, people to see. All right. Friends, we'll catch you on the flip side.
So great.
And
so great seeing everybody in the chat today. Thank you.
Real chatty. You know what? I'll tell you what. We've been using Ecamm for some really good reasons, but I really like the interface, at least the thing I'm looking at of this Restream alone. It's
not terrible.
It's pretty great. But I don't know. We can't do the same, like, well, I guess we can do can't do the circles. I can't figure out how to make you big. Well, I can just make you disappear. Anyway.
all
of our other fancy business. I'm not sure how we do it, but thanks for tolerating us, putting up with it. Hey, if you want the podcast version of this, there's a podcast version, because it's real visually stimulating, and we know. I do think it helps though to see the smirks and the pauses and I don't know. I like watching podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but when they have a video feed, I like it. Do you do that? Do you watch?
I'm a audio guy usually, audio only.
Okay. So
no, listen. Have you uploaded a podcast with Spotify?
No, because Joe Rogan's on Spotify and he's paid $100 million a year by them. I will have nothing to do with it until they speak out boldly and clearly that their highest paid employee does not speak for the company. But go on.
So I put together a podcast, just one episode, with a guy named Solomon Birchfield, who is the executive director of an organization addressing homelessness here in Northwest Arkansas. And Solomon and I talked for about an hour about some local political stuff that's happening related to the homeless population, and then the work that he's involved in. And needed some place to host this. Didn't want to, pay to, for one episode of what will probably not be an ongoing thing. Did a little research. Spotify, shockingly easy to post a podcast. Shockingly.
Oh. Do you have to have a paid account? Do you have to give Spotify money to be able to,
I don't know. I do have a paid Spotify account.
I bet.
I do. Which my children have now said, how dare you, even consider getting rid of it?
Oh, geez.
Because they've got no. They've got years and years and years of playlists built up that they, as do I.
Well, good for Spotify. I'm one of those people who's like, look, if you want to stop buying stuff from Amazon because you don't like Jeff Bezos' attitude, you also should probably figure out Amazon Web Services, because that's where the majority of their money comes from, not from delivering packages to your house. And AWS, Amazon Web Services, runs 80% of the internet.
Everything.
So if you want to not be contributing, fair enough. There's an Amish lifestyle awaiting you just outside of Peoria, Illinois. So I'm one of those people that's like, look, there's no ethical commerce. It's all interlinked. You're just picking. I had a friend tell me this the other day. The reason he won't use ChatGPT to help him write things for his work is because the amount of water that AI takes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you run an internet-based communication firm. Like, you're just picking one of the many. You know what the server farms are doing for all the other part of the internet? Anyway, everybody picks their thing. I get it.
Yes.
I get it.
Yeah.
We all.
Yeah. I
My
mean, you
thing
don't
is,
eat fish.
well, it's because it's poisonous. I can't give any money to Spotify
Yeah.
while they're going to pay $150 million a year to Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I just can't get myself to do it.
Yeah, sure.
I would have thought your children would have carried these morals deeply. I'd like
Well,
just ask them to consider.
we had long been a Spotify family before that happened, and there was discussion and just a collective agreement that we were going to turn a blind eye because of the hassle of moving your playlists over.
And there it is. And there it is. The libs. Yep. Okay. But no. Well, find out, would you, and let the good people know, or just ask ChatGPT right now while you're sitting there. Can you post
I don't know.
podcasts?
We're probably on Spotify anyways, right? Already? This podcast?
Yeah, I think this podcast is on Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, if you want to check out
I'm just not giving my money.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
But
Gladly.
we pay a thing called Podbean.
Yeah.
And then Podbean distributes to those channels. So somehow Podbean has some relationship.
Yes.
As being Spotify. I just can't imagine Joe Rogan's company is going to let anybody benefit from Spotify without paying for it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that. But maybe.
Yeah.
So,
I have used Podbean in the past. All I'm saying is I was shocked at how easy Spotify was. And if, folks want to go on Spotify and find a podcast about an organization called New Beginnings and listen to an hour of me talking about solving homelessness, that'd be great too.
Okay. Yabbit says something here about Elon Musk has his own AI that they were trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Grok, which is the
chip.
Yeah. The implanted Musk chip is a joke. The Grok update. Yeah. If you didn't see Grok, which is the AI that is embedded in X, which used to be Twitter. So like while you're in it, you can ask Grok to, you can use it like ChatGPT, but it's embedded in X. And so you can use it in replies and all sorts of things. Grok went off the rails last week.
Yeah, they changed the AI, right? So that it would not be giving woke answers. Was that true? Was that true, or was that just the?
Well, that something happened, and Grok was, spouting pro-Nazi stuff and all sorts of, really describing real in detail, threatening behavior towards a journalist, and I mean all sorts of crazy stuff. And so they've taken Grok offline for now. I've never used Grok. I don't.
So it was more of a glitch, not, and maybe the
But
people.
it might be that they were trying to make it less woke because Grok would consistently be critical of Elon Musk.
Yes.
And I maybe in the attempt to tweak it, all the controls went away. I don't know.
Got broken. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'll tell you, I use ChatGPT. That one, it tells me regularly things it won't tell me about or won't produce. It won't produce anything that is, like we make little headers for this kind of stuff, and anything that feels at all on one side or the other, it won't generate it. So it feels like it's the real, I don't know.
Yeah.
Somehow I've decided that it's the safe one. Which is just ridiculous. Okay. How'd you get there? So, okay. All right, buddy. Thanks, y'all. Yeah. Steven, good to see you. I see that you're newish around here. Mike Stavlin, wow, making a rare appearance. That makes you nervous.
Edward, does that mean we won't get text later tonight?
Kevin, Wanda. I didn't know Wanda was here. Hi, Wanda. All right.
Dodie
Yeah,
was
lots
here
of people.
earlier, and Alex and Jim and
If you're not seeing all these, it might be because
Sharing.
you're on Facebook and they're on YouTube, and we go to all these platforms at the same time, and Twitch and all these places. So we prefer you over on YouTube, by the way, friends. If you can go to YouTube, find our channel on YouTube. If you're still watching right now, you're a deep listener, or your computer's just sitting open in the kitchen and you've wandered off somewhere else. It helps us play the algorithm game over on YouTube better than on any other places. So if you can, you can help a brother out. All right. See ya.
All right. Bye.